Sales tax jurisdiction allows you to set up the program so that when you're doing work in a particular area, it will pick the correct sales tax for that area. There are a few things we'll have to do to set this up, and then we'll show you how it works. So to begin with, we're going to have to turn on the sales tax jurisdiction feature. So we're going to go to Admin and Configuration, and then we're going to go into the POS section, and we're going to go down here to Sales Tax Jurisdiction. We're going to edit that, and we're going to turn that on. So now that that's on, this is going to allow us to select which sales tax are used in which areas. Next, we're going to go into our sales tax section and just make sure that all of the sales tax that we need is set up. So generally speaking, you'd want to make sure to have your state sales tax set up, and then any of the different counties or cities that you'd be working in that you would charge sales tax for. So in Michigan here, we just have a state sales tax, but let's say we also had a city that decided they were going to charge a sales tax. So we would come in here and we're going to go ahead and add city sales tax and set it as a service tax, and we'll just set that at 1%. Now you also notice something different here from the normal sales tax screen when we have the sales tax jurisdiction turned on, is we have that item pop-up note available. So you may have certain taxes that within that zip code might not be charged for everywhere within that zip code, and so it might be a little situation where maybe the program might not be able to quite handle it, or you just want to remind people that, if this is a zip code where there's a city, but then outside of the city is maybe a township, and in the township the tax doesn't apply, you could add a pop-up note. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we have our note there, not charge the tax if working outside the city. And we'll go ahead and save that. And so now we just need to close our quote screen and reopen it. And now if we go to our tax tab, we see we have both our city and state tax. And right now just the state tax is our default. So now we'll go into the sales tax jurisdiction area. And that's going to open up actually in the list area, which is not normal when you open up a window on Glas-Avenue. Normally you're on the edit tab and you have to do a search to get the list. But this is just going to bring up a list of all the sales tax that we already have set up. And then for each sales tax there, we're going to pick a jurisdiction for it. So let's start with our city sales tax. We'll go ahead and go to the edit tab. And we have to go ahead and pick the state. So we're here in Michigan. So we're going to go ahead and choose that. And then we're going to pick the county. And we're in Wayne County. And now we've got a list of all our cities. So first off, if this was a county tax instead of a specific city, if it was something that was taxed no matter where we were in the county, then we would just leave all the cities unchecked and just save it like this with just the county. However, since we're going to do a specific city, or if you were doing several cities that got this tax, you would simply check mark those cities. Now you may have something where right below Belleville there we've got several there for Brownstown, and we've got different ways that it's spelled there. And so if the tax was no matter where it was in Brownstown, obviously the spellings are just the same, we would probably want to go ahead and just check all of those. Now we're going to go ahead and go back to our list and choose the state sales tax. And here we just want to go ahead and choose Michigan again. But for the county, we're just going to pick all counties because all the counties get charged the Michigan sales tax. And then we'll go ahead and save that. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in a customer here. And then we'll fill in our name information real quick. And then we're going to put in our zip code. And once we put in our zip code and hit tab or enter, if there's more than one city or township that matches that zip code, it's going to bring up a list here. And so you can see for the 48111, we've got several different choices here. Now we only chose Belleville. So if we were to pick Belleville here, now it should charge tax if we're going to be doing the job mobilely. So again, the thing to remember here is that it keys off of the zip code, but also the city when we've got multiple cities within that zip code. And then we also have to choose that it's a mobile job. So if we just chose shop job for right now and went to the tax tab, you can see that it's just on the state sales tax. However, if we were to go here and choose that it's a mobile job, there's our little warning message that we put in that we don't want to charge us tax if it's working outside the city. But because we've already picked Belleville, and that was what we had set up in our jurisdiction for Belleville, now when we go to the tax tab, it's got both the state and city tax selected. Now the other thing that we can do is over here in the job tab, we've got this mobile checkbox here. And as long as that's checked, again, it's going to go off of the zip code that's in the window there. If I were to uncheck that mobile, and we'll just say no there, we'll leave it, but it's not checked as a mobile job. Then if we go back to the tax tab, you can see that the city tax is not selected. Now again, we had kind of a unique situation there because we have multiple cities or townships that come up with that zip code. So let's say if we go back and mark it as mobile, but let's change that instead of Belleville, we're going to change it to Van Buren Township. Now when we go back to the tax tab, you can see that the city sales tax is not selected because again, we only specified Belleville for the city sales tax. So that might be another thing. If you've got a zip code that's got multiples, it's not only is it Belleville, but it's Van Buren, it's Sumter. If all three of those needed that tax charged, we would have needed to make sure that when we were in that jurisdiction window, not only did we check off Belleville, but we checked off Sumter and Van Buren Township as well. So you can see that the detail is pretty good on this, but there still may be situations, again, where you might have a particular section of a zip code that gets charged as sales tax, but there might not be any differentiation in the zip code program. So when it pulls up, it may just pull up one city and doesn't give multiple choices, and so it might not be able to distinguish whether or not to charge the tax, and depending on how you have it set, it either will charge or won't charge. And so you may have to manually come in here to the tax section occasionally and either add the tax or remove the tax. So that's why you want to use those item pop-up notes if you have areas that are like that where maybe part of a zip code is covered and another part is not. So lastly, just again, remember that it's always going to work off the job being marked as mobile and the zip code in that mobile location.